Welcome back for another video. As the international break draws to a close, in this video we'll look at the top players with predicted points in double game week 29 and also over the next 5 game weeks to guide your transfer plans and captaincy. So let's get straight into it and starting with the goalkeeper projections. It's actually the cheapest of the bunch, 3.9 mil still who's on top, projected 8 points. There's a lot to discuss here. He only made his Premier League debut 3 games ago due to some questionable form by Sanchez, and De Zerbi pointed out that he feels like Steele's more suited to his style. It's also worth pointing out that he's not necessarily nailed long term. A few bad performances could lead to Sanchez regaining the spot. However, Steele has done very well with 2 clean sheets in 3 and is worth buying, particularly given Brighton's additional postponements to come as double game weeks later in the season. Kepa's second on the projections with 7.6 points and De Gea on 7.5. One thing to bear in mind with Steele, Kepa and De Gea is that although they're very good picks this week, they blank in game week 32, something to bear in mind if you don't plan to free hit that week. If we look at the most up-to-date projected fixtures from Mikel Tokvam, this shows what's left of the season, and we can see the blanks and also the confirmed and expected doubles. There's no doubles beyond game week 34 that have been announced yet, but they'll almost certainly come in game week 36 and game week 37, including potential back-to-back double game weeks for Brighton. For that reason, Steele quite literally will be a steal if he keeps playing. Leno is missing from the projections this week with a single game, but he's one to consider pairing with Steele as they rotate very well for Brighton's tough couple of games coming up and the blank. If you missed the Game Week 29 wildcard video, we had the 2 paired up, and that video will be on screen at the end if you missed it. It also includes an end of season guide at the start. Moving on to all the defenders next, and it's the Brighton lads on top here. Dunk predicted 8.3, Estepinian 7.8 and Colwill 7.3. Colwill is a risky long-term pick, so avoid him. He might share some minutes of Webster, particularly when the schedule's at its busiest. Estepinian travels furthest of all the international players. At the time of recording, Ecuador just finished playing Australia away. If you're looking to buy him, wait till closer to the deadline for hopeful confirmation that he's back, adjusted and ready to play on Saturday. Chilwell's a standout defender to own for this game week as well. He also carries a risk of rotation longer term, which should be mentioned. If we pull up Chelsea's fixtures, they're scheduled Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, Wednesday, Sunday, Tuesday, and that includes 2 legs against Real Madrid, where Potter will want his best men. I went for Chilwell despite this, but it is dependent on who you're selling. In my case, it was Henry from Brentford. Shaw could carry the same risk realistically, with Man United's schedule looking very similar. They've got midweek games against Sevilla on the horizon, though you could easily argue that Shaw's fitness is better at the moment. West Ham's doubles really flown under the radar, 2 home games against Southampton and Newcastle. They have been in poor form recently, though a player like Zuma could be a monster differential at 1% owned and back in the team just before the break. West Ham also faced Bournemouth in game week 32, which is handy. Moving on to the midfielder projections, and Fernandes is top, projected 9.9 points. To offer some context, Rashford isn't far behind on 9.4 and his points handicapped slightly by his expected minutes. He withdrew from international duty over the break, and the latest is that he's returned to light training, but he could only take part in a small session away from the group, no ball work involved. So his minutes are slightly reduced, but the algorithm expects that he will play. If we set his minutes to 80, then he's projected 9.9, tied with Bruno. This does pose an interesting question on captaincy though. If you're chasing, and there's 2 players that are neck and neck on projections, then there is the opportunity to back the lower owned player in Bruno for the higher upside. It would not be surprising if Rashford comes off early, particularly in the first game, while Bruno's a 90-minute man, something to weigh up. McAllister also deserves a mention, projected 9.7 points. His underlying numbers have been eye-watering since moving further forward to the number 10 role. We've seen him popping up in the box, shooting from good positions, and he's on penalties. 5.5 mil bargain for him and the other Brighton mids. Salah could be an ahead of the curve pick, projected 8.9 points this week for his double. We talked a bit about Salah in Monday's video. He's picked up some form recently as well, with returns of 21, 8, 6 and 11 in his last 6 games, 2 blanks. On top of that, his appeal is that he has a very good game in blank game week 32 and he doubles in game week 34. He's also been on the score sheet over the international break for Egypt. A likely season keeper if you do get Salah, and then it's down to the FPL gods if you pick the right premiums to see through the remainder. Maddison's joint with Salah on the projections with 8.9 this week, a really good double for him against Palace and Villa. He played fairly well over the break as well, getting his first start for England, creating 5 chances against Ukraine. On top of that, he has Bournemouth at home in game week 30, a really good fixture, after which point you may want to move him on before Man City away in game week 31. He's an explosive asset when you catch him at the right time and everything goes through him for Leicester. The other 2 Brighton mids could be season keepers as well. Matoma projected 8.9 and March 8.2. They're cheap enough to be benchable if you wish to in those 3 game weeks from Gameweek 30 to 32, where they're away to Tottenham, Chelsea and then blank. After that, it's plain sailing for the remainder of the season as they compete for a spot in European football. We talked briefly about West Ham's double. Bowen's projected 7.9 points, a big differential to consider if you're chasing. West Ham do sit 18th in the Premier League table, which is very poor, but you back them to turn it around with 2 home games ahead. They're far too good to be facing the drop. Onto the forwards, and there's some surprise names here. Given the single game week, the likes of Kane and Haaland miss out this week. There's actually Solanke on top with 8.2 points. He's not hit the heights we'd hoped this season after scoring 29 and assisting 7 times in the Championship last season. Only 5.5 mil though, 3 goals and 7 assists. 2 home games to Fulham and Brighton in the double, and then a home game to West Ham in blank game week 32. Felix and Watkins are joint second with 7.6 points. Looking longer term, Watkins is projected significantly more as he doesn't blank in 32, a really good transfer this week if you need a forward. Havertz would be my pick between the 2 Chelsea forwards if you want to grab one for the 2 home games. Scored just before the break from the penalty spot. Isak also deserves a mention after putting up a brace in game week 27 and he too scored from the penalty spot. There is a chance he shares minutes of Wilson, which is something to bear in mind though. Given how well he's playing, he deserves to continue starting though. Tony's in the don't buy, don't sell territory, and you can see his long-term projections are very low. This is due to the potential ban. But until then, you certainly keep hold this game week, and it is worth mentioning that he's also 1 yellow card away from a 2-match suspension, so he could be on borrowed time in many teams. The other forwards, Weghorst and Wood, are both avoids, given the better alternatives available. If this video was useful, please drop it a like and make sure you subscribe for more FPL content to come this week. Thanks for watching and see you soon for the next one.